Welcome to day 9 of Barbara's Golden Repair. We are talking about teenagers today, so I'm coming to you from the room of one of my teenagers who goes to a great little school nestled in the mountains of Floyd County, Virginia, called Springhouse School. And I got the great opportunity to interview one of his teachers about teen development and how parents might nurture themselves as their teens are going through these transformations. He had a lot of great things to say. So I hope you enjoy this interview with Chris Wolf and enjoy the poem by Barbara Gulick called Ode to Butterfly Mamas. So I thought about you when I read this poem as somebody who has a lot of wisdom around teenagers, because I remember at the beginning of the school year at the parents' night, you mapped out this like developmental wheel on the floor, and you kind of walked us through some of the stages. And when I listened to you, just a lot of stuff made sense about what I was noticing in my own teenagers, and that just, I don't know, that really stuck with me, because it was a way of thinking about development that I hadn't thought of for teens. And you know, working with teens, that parenting teens can be really hard. And I was trying to think of like the physical experience of what parenting a teen is like. And for me, it's like simultaneously like pushing away and like leaning into it and pushing against each other. Yeah.
Totally.
and that's so hard, because it's like, well, do I need to come up against right now and set some boundaries, or do I need to give them space? So I would just love to hear that's kind of a big question, but love to hear your thoughts on whether, is that a normal thing with teen development, or is that something we can expect, and just how to navigate?
The wheel I walked through on that evening was mapped by Bill Plotkin. One of the things I appreciated that he talks about is like adolescence and kind of the grand span of human evolution is actually a pretty recent experience.
This is true.
Like, it used to be you kind of went from being a child to having a family and like providing. And so this whole kind of in-between experience of teenager adolescence is kind of new. And it's marked by a number of features that become pretty distinct and obvious as a parent or as someone working with teens. You begin to see moving out of childhood, where the center of gravity really is still in the family.
Yeah. It's so sweet. Like they love on you. And
Yeah.
They hug you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sweet.
And I think that sweetness, there can be a real longing to hold on to that forever.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, why wouldn't you?
I know, it's so hard to let go.
And it's right and normal that changes. And the center of gravity shifts, and it's not necessarily with puberty. Sometimes it happens before or after or right as. And it begins to go out of family and the natural world and into peer group, sexuality, and society. And so, and at that time, there's like, I think it was Jung who talked about individuation, right? And so an individual begins to try and discern, like, okay, how much of my family culture is me? How much of my family's values, ways of being? And so to find that out, a lot of times I've got to like try on the opposite, or I like totally identify with, and I'm gonna like find my way through that way. And here we are, like we're individuating, we're finding out who we are by like pushing up against and separating from and trying on masks and behaviors, and so it's kind of tumultuous and wild and can be uncomfortable and can have lots of friction, like, and can be really exciting, right? There's this like heat of transformation. And so, you know, so many people, when I say I work with teens, they're like, oh, you saint, or poor you, or like, oh my God, like how?
Yeah.
But when you don't fight what's naturally happening, is really beautiful. And it's not that the parents, that they're like totally divorced from the parents, because it still has, you have a role, and it's important, and relationship can be maintained, but it's important that it becomes different than that kind of explorer in the garden love and tender affection.
It almost reminds me of like a dance where you're like pushing up against, you're moving away, you're rolling back in, and like who's leading?
Yeah.
Am I leading? Are they
Yeah,
leading?
and there are some of these patterns that you can expect, but exactly how I move through those steps, it's kind of like with every individual, there's a different kind of dance that's needed. And so
And you might step on each other's toes.
you probably will.
Yeah.
Because no one taught you the steps, right?
Right. Wow. For parents of teens, what are some things, like as we're learning this kind of dance and where to pull in and where to let go, like what are some ways that parents can take care of ourselves? Like, because it can be really hard to let go.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think so many of us in our adulthood haven't really fulfilled a lot of the tasks of our adolescence in terms of trying on these different masks and welcoming the wholeness of human emotion and expression that like so many teens are like. They'll give you like the rage, they'll give you the joy, they'll give you the like end of the world sadness, they'll give you like total apathy. And so as adults, like for us to really know it all within ourselves and cultivate ground so that we're not expecting our children to, like, we're not living vicariously through them in any way, and we can really celebrate their individuality and let go of our expectations of what they should be and encourage who they are and who they're becoming. It's a little easier said than done. What does that work look like? I think it looks like finding practices to really know myself and trust my own belonging, so that I really have deep roots to stand in the tumult of the adolescent.
Yes. Yeah, community too.
That's
Barbara wrote another poem about how trees are connected underground, and when the wind comes, it's not just they're rooted right there, it's that they're connected to the community. And I see that really strongly at Springhouse, as y'all really emphasize like that growing in community, even if the parent isn't always the one who's involved. Like there's other trusted adults who the teen can turn to, and so it's this real.
Yeah, I think that's a really important dimension on a number of levels for the teen to have an experience of community to come to, where they can be held and learn from adults that aren't the parents that they're doing this kind of dance with. And for the parents to see that in other family systems, and it's so like normalizing to be like, oh, I'm not alone in this.
Yes.
And then maybe even there's a relationship that's where you get to be a kind of mentor figure to another teen that's doing that dance with their family, and then receive some of that kind of joy that comes in being able to show up for a young person.
Yeah, absolutely. And I liked that you called it, like you mentioned, transformation as what the teen's doing, because in this poem, that's the metaphor, is the butterfly, and you know they kind of disintegrate in the chrysalis and then transform.
Totally.
And so that's the metaphor here. So could you help me read? It's more like a letter.
Great.
Yeah, and I brought you a butterfly hat.
Oh, come on. That's so
'cause
excellent.
You're going to be the butterfly.
Great. Thank you. This is
and
fantastic.
actually, that was a card that somebody from Springhouse sent to our house. So, yeah.
All right, I'm ready.
Getting in character. All right. So, we got our butterfly. 2 letters. or their emails, I guess.
Okay.
Yes. And so I'm going to be this one.
Okay.
And you're going to be this one.
Great.
All right. This email is from humanmama@overit.com to all butterfly mamas at serenity.fly. Subject, Ode to Butterfly Mothers. Dear butterfly mothers, I respect you. Perhaps it's envy. You just lay your eggs and fly on, allowing your offspring to hatch out as caterpillars and go through metamorphosis alone. After all, it is work to be done alone. Mind-blowing, body-changing, internal transformations. You don't have to withstand all the eye-rolling, emotional roller coasters and smart-ass comments through all the changes that scare your babies. Your benediction while laying your legacy. Goodbye, my little ones. You have the guts, the same guts that I do. I'm sure you'll be fine as you make waves toward the horizon. I wish I could be like you. Take it easy. Tired human mama.
Dear human parents, you think I'd rather fly off into the sunset? Oh, please. I'm flying away because my days are numbered. Literally. 3 more and I'm done. I've laid 278 eggs these last 15 days. By the time my babies hatch, I'll be dead. And probably they will be dead too. Only 5 of my babies will survive to have babies of their own. If only I could stay for a few more weeks to yell into their chrysalises, I see you. You're doing great work. Transforming your body and soul into 8-legged crawling to floating with the winds is hard. Right now, I know you are squishy in the middle, but it works out. Don't give up. I'm out here if you need me. Oh, and also remember, eat milkweed only, not those pretty flowers. They're toxic. Look both ways before crossing the street. Wheeled things are lethal. When you hear calling birds, stranger danger, duck and stay covered. You don't blend. But I can. So I fly and whisper to the wind, good luck, my babies. I know human parents, your adults in the making, can be trying. But you have the choice. Their changes in metamorphosis profound. Worth the stay. Persevere. Love from above, Monarch Mama.